Like, I mean, Jason Moore is a guy
Who,
who.
who do you see as the guys that should come in next season?
So I think starting wise, I mean, it's probably going to be. I mean, I think Kenyatta Jackson's going to start. They're moving. They're going to move C.J. Hicks to the edge full time. So I think he might be one of the starters out there. Defensive line. Jack position starting there. I think Caden McDonald's probably going to be starting up front at D tackle, and I think they're going to have,
Mm-hmm.
um, you know, there's going to be another battle for the other defensive tackle spot. It could be Edric, could be someone else. It could be Jason Moore. Not sure, but I do think they, with how they rotate, they're just going to play the best guys now. I mean, really, quite frankly, it's all going to depend on the new defensive coordinator. If that
Mm-hmm.
defensive coordinator likes to rotate guys, this definitely hurts the depth in a way that's not good. If they don't rotate a whole lot of guys, or if they don't like rotating a whole lot of guys, then those guys who played a lot this year, they are more. It's going to be better for them because
Mm-hmm.
they're going to get a lot of playing time. But I don't see I don't see someone like Zion Grady getting a ton of time early just because of him
Right.
being a true freshman. I mean, the guys we saw this year, Caden Curry, I think is going to get a ton of time. He could even start. Like I said, they're going to move C.J. Hicks to the edge. There's been talking about moving Sonny Styles to the edge as well. We'll see. I think he's better. I think he's probably going to stay at linebacker. I think next year is going to be the time that Tyrone Malone has to show what he's going to do.
Yeah.
After being in the program already a couple of years and not really much to show for it. And to be honest, that's about it. There's a whole lot of unknowns on the defensive line with him gone. I don't really expect Will Smith Jr. to get a whole lot of time. Josh Mickens, maybe. Again, those two guys are
Maybe. That's a
those
maybe.
are kind of mop up time guys. So I don't know. What do you think?
So interesting name you brought up, Tom Malone. It's time. You're right. It's time we see something from him. When he came from Ole Miss, I thought that he would be a piece that upcoming season that we can slow walk into the rotation. I mean,
Yeah.
he has the size, he has the ability. Something's not there yet. Maybe it's because the guys that were having were just better. It's not like we didn't have some game records of the last few years, So that's one who I do want to see more out of. You said Will Smith Jr. Uh, you're right. A guy that comes in at the end of the game. Uh, for him, that's more so hoping he becomes one of those guys that low recruit guy that makes some type of big jump. Hopefully takes the great genes that his dad left him.
Yeah.
And recipes to Will Smith.
Well, and another guy that's not on this list, because he's not officially, I guess he's technically now official on the team, is Logan George, the transfer in from Idaho State. I think he's probably going to get some rotational minutes, but he's not a guy that they can rely on to start right away. But he at least gives them a little bit more depth, so that does help.
Yeah, and again, we brought C.J. Hicks and possibly Sonny Styles, but C.J. Hicks definitely going down the edge.
Yep.
That's gonna definitely help out there. I think he's gonna be great in that position. I really do. Zion Grady, I think you say you don't think he's gonna get that much time.
He's a true freshman. With Hicks moving to edge, I don't really see him really getting a whole lot of time this year, which is fine. He's a true freshman. He needs some time to bulk up and kind of just figure out how to play at the collegiate level.
Yeah, I think definitely in the spring. You don't have to go out there and get starters, and it's probably going to be hard to get guys that have proven production in their college career. But in that spring portal, I think if they can get 2 defensive tackles, maybe one of each, I think that's good.
Yeah, just like rotational pieces, got bodies to help that have experience. You're not necessarily relying on a true freshman guys to go out there and produce right away. I do think that'll probably be a priority for them in that spring portal window.
Is there anything on offense you think they need to do? I mean, clearly offensive line's up there, but
offensive line, they addressed that a bit here in the offseason. So I'm not sure if they're going to go ahead and get another guy on offense. They might get a backup, but as far as like starting wise, they're probably going to keep Hinsman at center. He needs to work on snapping the ball to chest level all off season because it was low all year. At guard, they seem to have found, Luke Montgomery. I think he's probably just going to start outright next year. There's not going to be any this rotation crap.
Mm.
I think he's solidly in as a starter. And I think the right guard will be between, if they decide to keep Tegra there or Sierraveld, I think that's where Philip Daniels could fit in if they don't like him at right tackle with Josh Fryer gone. But I still think he's probably got the best shot to start at right tackle there. And I think the new kid from Rice, Ethan, I think he's probably going to start left tackle already.
Yeah, Ani Anwa.
Yeah, I didn't want to try to how to pronounce that last name. I've screwed it up before, so I'm just going to call him Ethan. Those two transfers are probably going to start at tackle. Again, if they can get a depth piece, that would be great. They've already addressed tight end, like Max Clare got it. They already addressed running back with Donaldson. And I'm not ready to say Donaldson's definitely going to start next year. I think him and Peoples are going to fight for that. But either way, both of them are going to get a ton of carries.
Yeah.
But offensively, they're pretty well set. I mean, they obviously don't need anything at the wide receiver room. That's the one room where they never need anything. I will say this. I could see them getting like a fifth-year senior quarterback, like a Tristan Gebbia type that like they had a couple years ago, just for depth purposes because they don't have any other scholarship quarterbacks. So I can see them doing something like that. What about you?
Yeah. Real quick, Gary, he's like what? Eric Houston's like 270.
He's a big dude.
He's bigger than that.
He can play like he can play edge, and that's what they initially wanted him to do coming into this year. And then they realized, he's a bigger body who can also play on the inside, and we don't need really help on the edge. So when you're 6'3", 270, you can play defensive tackle, and you can even bulk up a little bit more to help that. So
his body's gonna fill up much more. It's gonna fill up much more. But to answer your question, I'm looking more around the running back range. We talked about it before, where we believe that the running backs need more depth. Of course, we bring in Donaldson out of West Virginia. I believe he's going to be a really good running back for us. We haven't had a running back his size in a very long time. He's 235, 240.
I don't remember his exact, but he's pretty big.
He's pretty. I mean, Preston's what? Beanie? Master T was pretty big.
So he's listed at 6'2", 238. So
God,
still pretty big.
Yeah, so he's a big guy. I mean, he's back way more than Beanie Wells actually. So I think between him and James Peoples, who a lot of the guys in the Woody have compared to,
they like Peoples.
Shoot, around J.K. Dobbins. That's who they compared him to.
Yeah.
And so if you tell me we got a running back that's like J.K. Dobbins, man, I'm taking that to the bank.
Quite frankly, Peoples looked good in the limited carries he got this year. Like he did. He looks good.
He did, especially early in the season when he got in there. With the limited reps he had, you could see that he has the burst, he has speed, he has power. Probably has to do a bit better at that. Also, pass blocking, get a little bit better at that. And naturally, running backs that come out of high school have to. Actually, I saw a funny video today where Nick Saban was talking about Derrick Henry and about how he was a freshman. He was getting grilled really badly, and Saban went over to him and kind of pat him on the back and say, "Hey, man, it's gonna be okay." He never had to work on it in high school. They say they'll just pitching the ball left or right. But I think that James Peoples is going to be one of the better running backs to come to Ohio State. I would assume. I mean, he's on. They have him as third string on here, maybe not early on, but I mean, Turbo Rogers. I would have to assume early in the season he's going to get some touches.
Yeah, that's a guy who's going to come in when they play Grambling. Just like some of the other bad like Big Ten teams early on, he's not going to get a lot of time just because he's a true freshman, and unless you're like Maurice Claret, you're not necessarily going to get a lot of carries as a true freshman.
Yeah, especially when the guys ahead you are very good themselves, and so I mean,
and also
I think he's one of those guys.
Dixon has entered the transfer portal, so he's not going to come back. So they can just.
And that's a kid I want to stay, but I get why he left.
Yeah,
but no, so we'll see. I think Turbo was one of those guys that you could ease slowly into there. Doing punt return, kick return. I think really athletic running backs are fast like him, fast switch guys. They thrive in situations like that in the open field. So give him some early touches in the season. And, possibly not have to use his red shirt. I don't think it would hurt if he did. But yeah, I mean, outside of that, and of course the obvious being offensive line, maybe get a few more guys there just in case of injuries. And then I do like your idea about getting a older quarterback, to come in there. Yeah. I think that does help in case, if knock on wood, is like say something went down with Julian. Yeah, like in the middle of the season.
You remember Chris Chugginoff, how he came in for like a drive when they had an issue there. Yeah, when Justin went down. So something like that. Someone who like either has seen a lot of football or has been like a backup who it doesn't need to be special. Just someone there for break glass in case of like disaster. Not even emergency, complete catastrophe.
No, because you might not know, man. Say if it happens like the 5th game of the year, do you know that you could put Tavian St. Clair in the game already? Lincoln's still on the roster, so I mean, maybe.
True.
I mean,
true.
Again, like just like Will Smith, I throw Lincoln in this category where you have a kid on the team who has abilities, right? But maybe he's not the best athlete. And Lincoln's a really good athlete. Don't get me wrong; he's actually a really good athlete. But maybe the passing. I'm guessing the passing isn't there for him. Yep. But maybe Lincoln is one of those guys. He takes some small type of a jump to where if in a very bad situation, he becomes Kenny Guyton. And Kenny Guyton, among Ohio State fans, Kenny Guyton, I look at him like a savior in Ohio State history. Because there was a time in that season, man, it could look bad, but Kenny Guyton came in and made a lot of plays and played very good Ohio State football.
Sure did.
So yeah, but I do agree with you. Being another older guy in there would be nice.
Yeah, and you mentioned Lincoln. He and Devin Brown have a lot of similarities to me in terms of how they view Ohio State. Neither one of them, they both thought they could come in and compete for the starting job, which when you're a highly rated quarterback recruit, you've got to have that confidence. Quite frankly, at any position, you've got to have the mentality that I can come in and win the starting job and I can come in and compete.
Yeah.
At the same time, I think he realizes, and Devin eventually realized this and, transferred, that he is probably not going to be the starter unless something drastic happens. Unless he somehow drastically improves or, like you mentioned, there is some sort of injury. So I would not be shocked if he transferred out in the spring portal window after Day sits down and be like, hey, look, this is completely up to you, but you're probably not going to play. And if you want to stay and be the backup, great. We'd love to have you here. But if you want to play, it's probably in your best interest if you go look for opportunities elsewhere. I think that's probably where that conversation ends up. I'd love to keep him for depth purposes just in case something does happen. But I do think this, quite frankly, I was surprised he stayed this past year. But I do think, in the spring, that might be the end of the line for him. But, maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's not like we haven't seen this before where some guys are just program guys.
Yeah.
And again, they probably Devin Brown could have left Ohio State 2 years ago.
Yep. He
really could have. Lincoln could have left 2 years ago, and he could have left last year and this year. He really could have. And Lincoln would have gotten us in all the teams that are out there, 134, Lincoln would have got a chance to start at one of them. He would.
Or the very least, truly compete for a starting job. At the very least. Yeah.
And I mean, if he wanted to, he could have gone to North or South Dakota and probably started there. And go win your championship if you need to. But I'll tell you what, man. Lincoln's one of those guys. He's very interesting. He reminds me of Devin Brown.
A lot of similarities, and like I said, I'm not like saying, "Hey, get out of the program." Like there's like I want you to leave, but if he does want to play, that might end up being the best thing for him. But there are program guys, like you mentioned, who are just perfectly happy staying with the team and just kind of doing whatever it takes to really help the program in general.